Yeah, because this little girl with the shadow. Can you see it clearly? Oh, you can only see Alfonso.
No,
Right.
I see
no,
Roman.
we've got Roman.
He is a little girl. They're both girls.
You just pointed at Roman Lappat and called him a little girl.
I said here. I went like this. I did this bit.
Mini Matters, a miniature painting podcast.
Right, hi guys. Thank you for joining us. Oh, wrong webcam. I'll try and keep my intro quick because I've learned that they're bad. So we're joined obviously by Peter Lionel. Hi guys. And the industrious Aythami, Alfonso Torrent.
Yeah, Aythami Alonso.
Aythami Alonso, right.
Nice to meet you guys, and it's a pleasure to be here.
Hi, Tommy. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, damn right. And you are a painter of models, among other things. And basically we all love your work, all three of us, and we were super keen basically to get you on. And here you are. So thank you very, very much for joining us.
The pleasure is mine. So if you want, I talk about myself a bit.
Yeah, I think that would be good.
I started like the common guys that we start with this is with Warhammer at the age of 8, more or less. And when I was 14 or so, I stopped because I wanted to go party and to drink. And
14
this was like a secondary thing. I went to the university. I studied psychologist, and in the third year, I realized, I was living by myself, and I was working in a shop in Decathlon, publicity here, and I didn't like my job. It's a pass job to go to another place, and I started again painting, and I realized that maybe I could make this a living. So I started painting. I remember that I earned nothing for my paints, like 27 euros for a little figure was nothing, and I spent like all nights painting. I slept like 3 hours, and then I went to the work. Was a nightmare, but that was the beginnings of this.
When what age was that you got back into it?
I got back into 2013. More or less 7 years ago.
Not that long ago. Oh, yeah, I suppose now that it's 2020, isn't it?
Yeah, in a professional business, like 3 years ago, in 2017.
Not bad.
Are you completely self-taught, or have you spent any time in studios or companies? Now, a lot of the big artists in the industry at the moment have all spent time in some of the bigger studios like Big Child or Scale 75 or something along those lines. Have you had that exposure, or are you purely self-taught by yourself in your room?
Yeah, in general feeling, I spend most of my time taughting myself, but I went to an Antonio Peña course, a little one in the beginnings about color that it opened my mind a lot. I went to Pepa Saavedra about the airbrush, and I didn't went to any course. I think that. But then I read a lot of books of James Gurney, of Betty Edwards, of Patrick Jones. Patrick Jones, he has the most amazing books, and it's about oil, not acrylic, but you can learn a lot about light. And
is he the dinosaur guy? Is it that guy?
Yeah, the James Gurney is the dinosaur guy. Yes.
Yeah.
And just observing and try to analyze by myself, man.
Yeah,
that's the word I do this. I hear really bad, man.
Yeah, now. Somebody started hoovering then, it sounded like.
Okay,
Wait, it's quite fun to work this out. It sounds like the Antarctica.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Is it
It's
now
is
not
it
for
you,
here.
me,
Lionel?
It's not
now
here.
for me it's
Silent
a
here.
bit lower.
Yeah. Well, it's not here. Right. Wait. That's good. So I can finish the introduction now. So essentially, what the format of this will be. Obviously, we're like 5 minutes in now, but whatever. We'll do get to know you, which we've done. We've got some questions that we've asked online. So we've had people's feedback with questions. We've got 2 questions, secret questions, which you already saw, but the viewers don't know who they were from. And there's no format here. So other than what I've just said, it's just going to be a chat with four lads who enjoy painting.
Amazing.
Yeah. So
and hopefully on the gallery you'll start seeing some photos popping up of Aythami's work.
Yeah. I'm going to bring that in once we start the official. Once we start the official. So 1 sec. Let me do that now. Slideshow. Boom. Look at that. Tits straight away. Brilliant.
More ones here.
You get commissioned, right? So you don't pick the ones with most of the boobs.
No and yes. I have collectors that gives me the freedom to choose the figure, but normally, yes. Normally, there's, for example, Robot Rocket that they have a lot of busts.
Yeah.
And other companies. I don't know. It's like I like painting girls because in my style of painting, it provides me a lot of playing with the silhouettes of the figure, trying to create a 2D effect. So that's why, like, I paint more female figures, only because of light, only because of the volumes. They are more, let's say, beautiful or more enjoyable to paint, and it's a challenge. It's for me, it's more difficult to paint a woman than a man.
Why? Because they're like what you just said. Because
because of the whole volumetry and all the facial features, they have to be really softer than a man. And the technique, well, in my style, okay, my style is a really soft, let's say soft, but you can see the stroke. To join these 2 things and to make an interesting project that feels realistic in a woman, for me, is more difficult than if you do it in a man. If you do it in a man, you can be a bit more aggressive if your style is being like that.
I suppose with a lot of the male busts and figures, the anatomy is so much more exaggerated. So it makes it almost a bit more kind of straightforward to kind of follow with that. Yeah, kind of see the smoothness. And interestingly, talking about spending some time with Pepper Savadra and kind of experiencing it, because her painting is almost like porcelain. It's quite amazing. It's that same softness.
Yeah, you can obtain the same results with a guy that softness, and it's a thing that was really difficult for me because I'm a really aggressive painter, and like years ago or months ago, I discovered how to be how to see my stroke, so be aggressive, but in the same time smooth the facial feature. So you can do the same with a man.
Yeah. It's definitely quite a unique style that you've got now with the reflections as well. So all being self-taught. When did you start adding in all your bounced lights, your reflected lights? Because that's really, for me, what stands out about any of your pieces is that, that 2D, 3D kind of quite a really interesting style.
Well, with this guy, with this bold man, I call him Master Muten Roy, because in Dragon Ball, the guy, the old man that is the grandfather of Goku. It reminds me a bit. So I loved illustrations, and was always deeply inspired by the illustrations. So when you look at illustrations, some of them has this, like Boris Vallejo has this 2D effect with lines, with secondary lines and lights coming through all parts. So I wanted to represent this in a figure. So this is one of the first ones. And as you see, it's all surrounded by the sun in the back, and in the front by a more neutral light, but it still is warm. And it's nothing big, it's nothing important, because years ago it's done in illustrations. But in I think that in miniature art, Banshee was one of the first one that introduced this type of 2D effect. But in the years I experimented and tested with this, not was a common thing. Okay, now months ago, or I don't know, years ago, well, 6 months ago or so, there are a lot of artists that is doing this, and it's the normal or the nature of the path of the miniature world, that in 10 years will be like, I don't know, all invented.
Not all. There'll be some crazy new way that someone will come up with. But I think that's what I like about the whole painting industry, because I'm not at that level, but I can see you guys are, and you keep improving, keep evolving, keep changing. Like
it goes really, really fast, really fast. This is, as I was saying, this is only an effect. For example, Arnau Lázaro has done a troll. You saw a troll that has a light here in the eye. That's amazing. And that's things that in illustration world is done years ago. But this, so we were talking minutes ago. This is a young hobby, a young art. It's always evolving.
But that's what makes it good, right? In my opinion.
It's definitely what makes it exciting. It's an exciting place to be at the moment, with people experimenting, and actually experimenting really successfully with kind of new ways of doing things.
So how does that make you feel about how Games Workshop is the same style that's been 20 years ago?
I think this is a business. I remember in the last Golden Demon of UK, I went and I presented the my Marine.
Yeah,
we've got that guy.
I was talking to two of the painters, official painters. I don't remember her names, but I showed them the picture, and they told me, "Well, that's really good, etc." And I asked for their pictures, so they showed me the best ones, and the style of Games Workshop is really simple. Okay, it's really simple, but has a meaning. The meaning is that you have to see all the details of the figure, has to be available in terms of motivation when you want to buy the piece.
Yeah.
And I asked them if I could work with them, but in a really polite
like for
way,
like as on salary kind of work, or just a one-off piece.
Well, I was curious about that. I was only curious. So I don't know, for a period of time, I don't know. And they told me that my style was too aggressive and too detailed for the Games Workshop. But I understand it, because it's a business and they have to sell.
That's interesting that you wanted or thought you could learn something from working at Games Workshop. Do you not think that would have curtailed or stunted your growth as an artist?
Yeah, I think so. But I was
brutally honest.
I was only curious to spend, like, I don't know, a month or painted a figure with.
Oh, okay, them. Okay.
But I feel I can learn only a few things about the Games Workshop style, because it's a really simple one. I don't say it's bad, because miniature art is full of different styles.
Yeah.
But this I don't like to follow that path.
Yeah, but I guess it's a tick on a list as a kid when you loved Games Workshop?
That's it, mate. That's it, Jamie. I have a lot of White Dwarfs, the magazine, and man, that was my dream when I was a child.
Still mine.
By the way, that marine, that space marine, maybe appears in some months in the White Dwarf, and another marine I'm painting for a I don't know what's the word in English. A tutorial, a photograph tutorial for
Games Workshop. All right, so you've managed to fulfill your dream without having to sell your soul.
That's it. That's it. Mate.
So you will you are. Is that confirmed? You will officially be. That will officially
not official,
be
Lionel.
the White Dwarf.
Yes, I can say it's confirmed.
Oh, it is official.
I think that is in May. The White Dwarf in May is the blue primary marine. Oh, wow. And the one that I'm working now is the one that's Angel Blood Angels.
Blood Angels, yeah.
The guy that's coming like with a jetpack in a diagonal way with a plasma gun. I'm conversing that guy, and we talk about an article that maybe appears there.
But it's interesting that Games Workshop. When did you enter your marine? 2018 or 17?
I think that was 2019.
Oh, all that one. So it was actually only a year ago. Because it's funny that they would say it's not their style, but it shows how much Games Workshop's changed. That they're willing to put something that they don't see as their style in their magazine.
I think in fact, it's a bit like what Aythami was saying a moment ago. So working for heavy metal, you need to have the heavy metal style. But I think these days they seem to be a lot more open, certainly in the magazines and that sort of thing, to be showcasing a bit more of that flair, that kind of that you see around.
Artistic.
Yeah, they have to open, and you also see it in the sculpt now. The sculpts of Games Workshop now, they are more realistic, more interesting than years before, years ago. Yeah.
I think as well. Sorry.
Okay.
I think as well that Space Marine got quite critical acclaim online from fans in terms of how accurate it was in terms of a 3D representation of the Codex cover, which is probably why there it is. Which is why probably because it's so popular, White Dwarf have gone, actually we need to start reflecting this and showing this sort of art in our publications, because it's any publicity is good publicity, isn't it, to a degree?
Unless it's like really, really bad. But this is 28mm, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a conversion of a Space Marine. Yeah.
It doesn't look 28mm, which is a compliment, because it's out. You know that you've done a good job.
Thanks.
It loses any sense of scale, doesn't it? It kind of looks. It could be 120mm. You know.
Or it could be just a digital painting.
Yeah. Thank you guys. It has a lot of work, like 1 millimeter of the shoulder pad up or down makes a lot of difference. I remember because your eye is used to certain distance, and it's really important to take pictures in where you're painting in the process, because when you look with the two eyes, you are like doing the sides smaller or not so wider, and when you take a picture, you do it wider. So the little details and mostly in these little scales change a lot. So I was always taking a picture going with the shoulder a bit up or a bit down.
Brutal.
Do you paint with the photo in mind, or do you paint with the actual figure in hand as your kind of your primary goal?
No, always I have, when I want to do like a tribute like this, or want to have a reference, always with a picture, with the original picture. I think that the guy is Richard Reynolds. I don't know, remember. I have it in front always.
Yeah. Because it's go on. Sorry.
Excuse me, Jamie. Tell me.
I was going to say that's what I think. I don't know if I'm lacking and other artists lack, but is the whole idea of the reference before. You know, you keep telling me to do references, and I'm like, meh.
I think that's when you are a beginner, that's the best way to improve, because we don't go with this hobby with all the knowledge in our brain. You have to get metal and start painting without references. You don't know how to do it. Even with my years, I don't know how to paint metal exactly realistic without a reference. So in the beginners, when you are growing, it's really important to have, I don't know, if you want to paint a face, to have the reference and to exactly copy the reference to understand the volumes. Not copy like a monkey, but copy understanding how the light, the bones in the face, what's the direction. If the sky is open, maybe you have a blue reflection here, the source of light, the intensity of light. These are things that you have to think about and to discuss with yourself. But copying is a really good tool. If you go to the Fine Arts Academy, the first lessons is to copy and to understand light. And when you understand light and you understand volume, you can go to color. Because a mistake I had when I was more younger is that I was really focused on color and on recipes. I want to know exactly the red that he's using, and I went to my table and start mixing, and then I didn't paint the same. That's because you have to having a good knowledge of light before you go to the color, in my opinion. Okay.
It's tough. It's I find it really tough because I don't have that knowledge yet. I guess you progressively learn. You read books, you paint, you learn, you refine.
And Jamie, a good exercise that I want to tell you to do and the viewers is that we have, I don't know, how many figures do you paint in a year?
Like specifically, like maybe 6.
Yeah, maybe you. Yeah, in a year.
6 or 7, something like this.
6 or 7. Okay. You don't have enough time to learn about light, color, painting only 6 or 7 figures. So a thing I always do in my courses is like giving the students, I don't know, a sheet of paper here with a drawing, illustration, and they have to paint exactly. They have to divide for example, the face. If you want to study the face, divide it in 3 lights: max, highlights, mid-tone, and shadow. And with a green brush, with a green paint, just paint over the highlights in the exact shape that they are, and then to the shadows. And you divide it, and you have like a clown. But this little half moon we have here, it introduces you into your brain that facial feature, and when you go to your figure, you are able to translate it in an easier way. It's like you are creating that path in your brain by only spending like 5 minutes painting over a previous illustration.
So we should do that then.
Yeah,
for 5 minutes isn't very long, to be honest.
Yeah.
Almost like Pete always says to us, paint more.
Yeah.
I think there's a few more expletives in there, isn't there?
Yeah. It's one thing Pete says to the two of us over and over again is we need to just paint more stuff and worry less.
JFP. Is it? What is it, Peter?
JFDI.
JFDI, and we'll let the viewers work out what that means. Because we don't swear on this channel, do we, guys?
Look up a Nike logo, and that might give you some of the words.
Yeah, I like it. Wait, I'll change that slideshow image 1 sec. Hold on. I'm doing it manually because it was too quick. I don't know if you guys noticed.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
It was just going through them like rapidness. Right, so let's do the video, if that's all right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah, we've got a.
You could explain it, yeah.
Yeah. So, like we said, we know a couple of artists, and we reached out to them to ask some questions off you, as well as the community. So, here's the first video. So, if you just listen to it.
Okay.
Okay, it's our boy Alfonso. Tell me if you can hear it.
Hey, Aythami,
Okay.
this is Roman.
No.
Banshee.
Hold on, how do I fix? I can hear it perfectly. All the viewers can hear it as well. I'll tell you what.
No,
the viewers can hear it.
we can't hear it.
I'll read back. I'll say what he says. Okay.
Hey, Aythami, this is
Hey, Aythami.
Roman. Banshee.
He's gonna kill you.
Use primary colors.
You mix. You always mix. Skin tone, right? Is Roman? Is Banshee?
And I want to ask you a question. What
I want to ask you a question.
is your favorite brush size and why?
What's your favorite? What's your favorite brush size and why?
Brush size?
Yeah.
Okay. Alfonso, my favorite brush size is yours, man. Now, my favorite brush size is the number 2. Number 2.
It's controversial. Alfonso's is number 6, isn't it?
Whoa.
Yeah. Interesting.
So-
Is that how? Yeah.
So why number 2? If you could just go into a bit more.
I only tested 0, 0, 1, and 2, and 3. And
So you're missing out 4, 5, and 6 still.
yeah, and I didn't paint with that. Maybe when I test that, I changed my mind because I prefer number 2 because the stroke is larger and the tip is always the same when it's sharp.
Okay.
It's the same. I showed that Alfonso likes the 7 because he is able to do larger strokes.
Yeah. You use a lot of airbrush though, don't you?
Yeah, a lot in the beginnings and in the middle. In the beginnings to frame a lot of the details and to be the light and to create this 2D effect, it's really easy to do it with the airbrush. And when I want to unify, I think that like Sergio Calvo does the same. When he wants to unify and that's a bit dirty, you get the mid-tone really diluted, and you give strokes and you unify all the layers.
Because I remember watching the videos on your not original minis. If I go back to slideshow, this guy, the whole framing that you did to get this atmosphere was all with the airbrush.
Yeah, I think that as I was saying, the light is one of the most important parts of the figure. And when I saw the figure, I placed it in black, and with the airbrush with white, I pre-shade a bit, pre-illuminate a bit, and that's the light atmosphere you get with the figure. That's the you can here get ideas that you later will conserve, will still be there in the end of the piece. And the piece has to work perfectly with light and in black and white, all the volumes, and that's why I use so much the pre-shade and the airbrush in the beginnings and white.
It's definitely a skill though, because watching you do it, and obviously you explained why you were doing the stuff, and then I was like, man, that's so easy, and I went and did it on mine, and I was like, oh. So
yeah, it's tricky sometimes, but it happened to me the same. I think that I love is challenging myself. I think that I love is getting a project that is difficult, that I don't know how to do it. For example, the girl with the cast shadows, the Akito, the Neko Galaxy one. I didn't know how to do this, but it's like a challenge. That one is like a challenge for me, and that motivates me more to understand and to play, because when you paint a lot, or when in my own case, I'm a bit sick of painting the same. And that's a motorbike.
Sorry. The road I live on you could say it's an aggressive street. Yes.
So the more you paint and show, that happens to you the same. The more you paint, the more you ask to yourself challenges, and not only about certain technique like these cast shadows. I'm focusing in telling stories, telling things that makes sense to me in this project itself. So, talking about this project, if you look at the atmosphere, I wanted this like atmosphere playing with the beams of light with her. It's totally different if I placed the cast shadow in her eyes, and instead I did this because I wanted to represent like she's not afraid by anyone. She's about to cut an enemy, and she's looking at the eye, at the light. So she's not frightened. She's braveness. And that's the background that with the cables and the Japanese writings, it maybe reminds you to Tokyo, and it has a few meanings. But when I was finishing this project, I wanted to express a bit more. And if you notice, she's held with a Winsor Newton, with a brush, and that brush, when you see it, I don't know if you can see it with this view, but if you watch closely, she.
Sorry, I thought I had a different view, but
don't worry. I think that you can see it. You can see it with that. If you watch closely, the cast, you don't see the cast shadow of the brush. You see the cast shadow of her hips, of the cutted bust.
Oh, it's on a brush.
And for me that was like I don't know, a poetic way of telling the viewers that we are painters, that we create realities. Okay, we are creators of realities. It's like a tribute to all of us.
Yeah,
really nice.
It's like you don't stop in, well, that's an amazing effect, that's an amazing. I'm always aimed to think a bit more and to express an idea or a feeling, etc.
I think telling stories that I think is really taking it to the next level, particularly with busts, where normally people will just do a bust on a brass stick with a plinth. Whereas that's a really kind of
Did you guys notice that it was on a brush until he said it?
No.
No.
I think if you saw it in the flesh, so if you were looking at it on in a competition on a stand, I think you'd notice it really quickly, because now that it's been mentioned, I can see the writing on there, which it's got my brushes as well. It's the same, so really clever.
In a way, it's a compliment to your painting as well, because you look at everything else but that. Do you know what I mean? Like,
I hidden in plain sight.
I noticed you didn't have any legs. It's you stop looking at it in that kind of way. It doesn't look like a bust anymore. It looks like an illustration, or that's cool.
Thanks, man. I love that view of you have of the figure. I think that's the last thing about this, because I talk a lot. I think that is really important, the aspect that's the reading time layer of a figure. If you go to the primary space marine, the reading time layer, the amount of time you are reading there, trying to grab the story and trying to see what he's doing there, is maybe like this. But when you go to the old woman, the old Indian woman, the story goes like this. The reading time layer goes bigger, because you can go deeper and read more about her life, about the story, about the things that she expressed, and it's really important for me. For me, the story and the meanings of the figure is first than a light, color, and anything else.
I think what I love about when I get to know artists is I didn't realize that they did these pieces, and then you go and you look at the things and you're like, like Matty shared this and I was like, what? Like it's not it's not like a painting anymore. I think when you get to the higher levels, you have illustrations like where you're like, clearly it's I think these aren't good examples because they're too, like, this almost doesn't look like a painting, if you understand what I mean. Whereas this looks like an illustration. Again, not so much like a painting. And then this lady, I was just like, well, it's just a photo of an old tart without any teeth. Like, it's not like a painting. So yeah, I don't know. Like, what I find quite interesting about, especially as I've had now one of your pieces, Aythami, like the levels seem to get bigger. I don't know if that's between us normal folk and then like not professional, but like prosumer, like the mid level who can win competitions, but they're not doing it full time. And then the jump from professional, it feels big, in my opinion.
Maybe. I think that maybe is you can do a bit of relation of what you were telling, is that I feel like in high levels it's really difficult in a competition to decide what's gold and what's silver. In the guys, the girls that paint really, really well, how do you judge what piece is better than another one? It's a lot of subjectivity. So that's why I think that contests are really good for painters that are introducing themselves to the world, or they have a middle level that they want to see in an objective way where's the level. But the painters that are in a high level, this is art, man. Contest is a subjectivity part. What's the tiny detail that makes a figure better than another one? I don't know. But the step, maybe it's big. I don't know.
I think what's interesting as well, that my bar for it is, my wife doesn't follow the hobby at all. She, in the main, had no interest. It was just something that grown men do, and she never understood. But when I started showing her, obviously you show models are in White Dwarf and he's gone.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, you show her models in White Dwarf and whatnot, and she'll go like, okay. But then when I start showing her things like this, she genuinely is impressed. And I think that's the difference. I think when you get somebody who's not into the hobby, who's just a normal person, so to speak, and they look at this and they see it in a different view, and they're very impressed by what they see, I think that's where you've jumped to that pure artistry, or that higher level, where people are outside of what this vacuum of what we do can appreciate it and enjoy it.
Yeah, I agree a lot. That's the story, man. It's the different about, because I know like amateur painters that they have so much inside their brain that the story is important, that they do things better than professional ones because they are able to tell better stories without a good technique. And that's a thing that all guys that gets in the hobby has to have in mind. Well, there's a lot of reasons to paint. Okay, you can paint for fun, you can paint Warhammer, but as I was telling before, there are certain level you get that you want more, and this like reflects in the people that are seeing your job. Like your wife, when they see this story, she gets she gets moved. So but there are guys that aren't professionals that makes incredible stories without techniques. So again, the important part is the story.
Do you think that the more technique you get, the better you get, the less you rely on story?
The more technique, that separates things. I think that, for example, Kirill Kanaev, for me, is one of the best painters out there. And the stories he tells, they are less impactful for me than Roman Lappat. Roman Lappat, the technique of Roman is worse, but his stories are better. So I don't know. I'm a guy that loves technique, loves doing all things in a realistic but a fantasy way. But I'm in the period of time that I'm really focused on story.
It's funny you should mention Roman. Jamie, are you ready to?
So in a way. I mean, technically we haven't finished Alfonso's yet, so.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay.
I was just waiting for the opportune moment. Go away. Also, my cat joined us. I don't know if you noticed that. So hold on. What was I going to say? Oh,
Yeah,
I had a question not about the videos though, right?
Okay.
Is to do with the professional level. Like, because when I look at your models, and comparing it to like Alfonso's or Roman's, I would say theirs are more, and it sounds like an insult, but it's not. But they're more simplistic, and yours are a lot higher. Like, I look at yours, and you manage to keep it simple, but it has a very detailed style, if that makes sense. So like all are here, and every single brushstroke, it kind of matters. So when I look at your models, I'm like, it's like there's a lot of information to take in, but at the same time, it's all in the same vein. So it doesn't seem overwhelming, if this makes sense.
Yeah. Is the continue?
Yeah, and all I was going to say is, how do you do that?
Just how?
Yeah.
It's again about story, man. If you get light and work and color working towards story, it's a really general phrase, but is that's the trick. Remember, we have before a conversation about contrast. We were talking about what's the contrast in a figure. So when you have metal, has high contrast, and we have skin, you have mid contrast. But in the general feeling of the figure, you can have some areas, for example, the light that's in the head has more value, for example, than the light that's in the legs. That's the general feeling of the contrast of the whole figure. So understanding this well and understanding the initial phase when you get the airbrush and you start placing the light atmosphere is really important to get this result. To get this result that in general feeling there are simple pieces, but when you go closer, you see a lot more. You see the reading time layer. You go deeper. And again, another important thing is to ask yourself about what you want to achieve with the figure. It's really important. What do you want to express? Because, for example, here you can see the skate is a fox smoothness. Also, you are in my brain. Fog recast. The T-shirt is because Bruce Lee. Because I love Bruce Lee. You see here video games. You see a lot. A Superman. A lot involved.
Yeah, Rockstar. Pac-Man.
And the combination between like an innocent girl, but she has swords, so it has this duality that breaks a bit. It's not the same that if you have and the looking I wanted to of her was a really innocent, a really like a bit bad but innocent. This mix of the two extremes makes the project a bit more intricate, a bit more deeper.
Yeah.
So it's again about thinking about these things.
Because then, like, oh crap, I forgot. Do you think that the storytelling came as you got better at painting?
I don't know. I think that it came when I was bored by doing what I did. I was really bored by painting all the figures the same, and suddenly one day, no. This came because I was bored, but I was watching at art. I was watching at Roberto Ferri, who's a really great illustrator. And
who?
Roberto Ferri, an Italian that does illustrate 2D illustrations or 2D portraits. And he's a guy that's really similar to Caravaggio, that another Italian. And I thought the same, but talking to a familiar that does fine arts, that has a career, she told me that they wasn't the same, but I didn't understand. And then I tried to analyze. When you see the two artists side by side, the style is really similar. They have really realistic skins and realistic characters, but then the story is totally different. Caravaggio had a really deep, impactful critique to the society, and he had really more powerful in the story. And Caravaggio and Roberto Ferri, you can go deeper, you can analyze. It's a bit more abstract, but in the end, Caravaggio gets more interest, and that was because the story, and that was the line that tells me, man, I have to forget about technique and center all my attention in projecting stories to my projects.
Yeah.
Well, you've managed to do it for sure.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Obviously,
it's also quite inspiring, kind of talking about it with you as well. So that's making me think now.
Yeah, which
That's
leads
all about.
perfect. Sorry, go on. Oh, right, that's what it's about. Right, because this does lead on to, as Lionel said quite well, into. Hold on.
And choose me a top 3 canvas painters.
And choose, and he does this with his face. He goes, "I can't do it."
I apologise, Alfonso.
Don't worry, Lionel, you're going to be doing the impression of Roman in a minute. So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. your top 3 canvas painters.
3 canvas painters that I like.
Top 3.
Top 3.
Top 3: Roberto Ferri, Patrick Jones. Well, first Patrick Jones, then Roberto Ferri.
Not heard of them. Have you heard of them, guys?
No, I was just going to pretend that I did. I was just going to nod along, but you called me out.
You have to search Patrick Jones. He is amazing. He's
Okay.
You can go and inspire with any of the pieces. Patrick Jones, Roberto Ferri, and let's say Boris Vallejo. Boris Vallejo, you know, right?
Yeah.
Is he from the Vallejo Paints?
No.
I think
No?
No.
It's worth looking at some of his work. I think you might recognise some of his colour usage. There have been some of the pictures that have been revolving through Aythami's.
The Lena's one and the Goku grandfather, the Maestro Mutenroy, has a lot of Boris Vallejo.
Right.
It's that use of green.
Patrick Jones.
Patrick Jones is amazing. He's amazing. This man is amazing. I love the skins because he uses orange and greens that are like secondary complementary colors, and he uses in a really organic way.
Does look good, and I like that they're slightly sexual, which it's not exclusive, but
Boris Vallejo, you might find kind of similar in that perspective.
Yeah, I wanted to do it off. Okay, so
Aythami, you said obviously you studied psychology, and then your painting was around Warhammer, and then you left it for a while. But bearing in mind your knowledge with canvas art and whatnot, have you dabbled in other areas of art beforehand as a hobby in the background? So have you done canvas painting? Have you done drawing or whatnot?
I did drawing when I was in the school, and I painted dinosaurs in my books. It's the only thing I did. I'm really bad about with 2D drawing with my pencil. This is the only thing I like. Photograph, but I don't have any other academic studies about art.
And your colour understanding came from Betty Edwards' books and etc. and painting.
No, not exactly, because I'm still saying that I'm really bad with color.
I don't know.
I'm much better with light. That's my weaknesses, the color. I'm still working on it, but I get better with Patrick Jones by analyzing Patrick Jones. He's amazing. I'm with experimenting, and the thing I told you, Jamie, It's about getting a big palette and with the primary colors, grab green and create 5 or 6 tones of green. Get into the cold, warm, emerald, green with blue, and the same with orange, the same with purple, the same. And with that, you have in your palette, like in this movement, but this movement is a tiny movement. You have the color that the figure is telling you, and you don't break the creative process of your mind. You do the paint more fluid, and you understand more about color. But Betty Edwards is a really good book to understand it. Color.
Yeah, I like the idea, because basically the question I asked you today was, I'm painting a model, a dragon, and well, I'm struggling a bit, I think, with the colours. So the idea was, like you just said, basically put the colours on the palette and then create variants of it, and then you see the colours already, so you can visualise it more easily on the model.
Yeah, that's it. The same with the skins, a woman's skin. You get in your palette and try to create like 15 or 20 different tones of skins, going for shadows, tones, greens, blues, representing all the possible combinations there. So it's easier to your brain to understand this.
I should go back to the videos, but I want to ask, have you found your love for painting has gone down since you've become professional? Or do you feel more...
Have I found that paintings go down? What do you mean?
So have you found that your passion for painting since you've become professional?
I had periods. But because I think that the more I learn, and this is like that, the more you focus in a hobby, or the more you focus in, for example, guitar, in such a deeper way that I do, that's studying like 8 hours or 10 hours per day, the more you understand the lack of knowledge you have. So I'm always motivated because there's tons of things I want to experiment that I don't have time to do it. So I have periods of time, but I'm always being motivated because this is my passion. I will tell the same to all guys that ask me for the principal tip or the principal trick. You have it there, man. You have it in your heart. It's passion. When you love so much a thing that you spend hours and hours, you come back to the from your work and you spend hours practicing. That's the clue. The other things will come alone with your passion.
Yeah, just by the fact that you love it means you're going to get better at it.
I hope so.
In theory, yeah. It's not always true.
Like, the models you enjoy painting most always end up being some of the best that you do, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you're enjoying what you're doing, you're going to be able to put a bit more of yourself in it, and I think you'll get a better result.
Yeah, that's it, mate. And challenging yourself. This is this is a young hobby. The cast shadows, the reflection, the play of light. This is really young. You can be the one that opens the like Alfonso did years ago. He opened a bit the freedom of the art. So art, it's a lot more to say.
Yeah, it's because he went around fucking smoothness, and that opened up so much. Yeah, it is amazing. You have pioneers, I guess, or people that. But what?
One thing Alfonso always says as well is a lot of the techniques that he uses and a lot of techniques that other artists are using, he says, are actually old techniques. The canvas techniques that canvas artists have been using for years, and model painters are now importing them in to model painting. And he says sometimes people are suggesting that they've invented it or brought it in, but he says a lot of the techniques that you're seeing now have been done by canvas painters, by the masters for years, but we're only just seeing them being translated now into model painting.
That's it. And not only the techniques, not only the I don't know, the glazes or just the effects, just the ideas. A simple idea of playing with a beam of light. That's an idiot idea. That's really simple, but we are not used in a miniature world. So I always say the same. I was really fortunate to be in the exact time, in the exact place to get this hobby, like in the beginnings. I always tell that it's like cinema or music. The films that was recorded years ago when I don't know Steven Spielberg started, they were good films. Now, obviously, they are good films, but all in films are already done. Also in music, the good music is the old one. So in 10 years or in 20 years, we will be really old, drinking beers and whiskey, Jamie, and we will remind these moments, and we will only like passengers looking at and enjoying this art.
Yeah, reminiscing.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, well, screw that. We'll hopefully we'll come up with new things. Yeah, because this little girl with the shadow, can you see it clearly? Oh, you can only see Alfonso.
I see Roman.
No, we've got Roman.
He is a little girl. They're both girls.
You just pointed at Roman Lappat and called him a little girl.
I said here, I went like this. I did this bit. That, yeah, I mean, this effect, like you say, but I think it's still different though, because they've been doing it in 2D for years, because you have to draw it. You have to set the scene in 2D, because otherwise there's no information there. Whereas on 3D, you know, so you're painting like a 2D concept on a 3D object. And that's quite hard to do. It means you force the perspective, right?
Yeah, it's the thing I was talking before. Not exactly with this type of effect, but when you play with the silhouettes of the figure, it's really important to make pictures or close an eye, because all the sides change, and the effect that you see in the front view, if you make a little angle, you lose it. So talking exactly about this was really interesting, because another great illustrator is Bokeh. Bokeh with two, I don't know how it's spelled. Bokeh, just you see it in YouTube. Has really incredible illustrations, and one of these was with this type of like cast shadow of the hair. And I remember that I spent like 14 hours straight without stopping, because I didn't get this exact effect. And when I stopped, I could relax and sleep 2 days.
14 hours is a lot. Right, so we promised ourselves we'd keep this under an hour, and then we'd do a relaxed lads one afterwards. But hold on, which means I need to finish the questions. So
this is because I talk a lot.
No,
we all do.
Fine.
Technically you're here to talk.
Interesting questions.
Yeah.
Oh, all you said was.
You pay me for that.
Oh. Did we talk about money lineup?
In whiskey.
Okay, perfect. He said interesting questions, and that was all. So that was it. That was Alfonso finished. Okay. Right now, what's the other guy called? Roman.
Roman Lappat.
Yeah, but I haven't called him Roman. Where's he gone? Center. Wait, could that be it? No. Hold on, guys. Just chill. Yeah. I wasn't asking what his name was, by the way. It was what I'd called it in the program.
Okay.
Because obviously I know Roman well. Okay, right.
Hey, Aythami, I'm Roman. What do you think about the color green?
Right. He says... Oh, okay, you just have his face. I can't do German very well. Hello, Roman. Wait, no. Hello, Aythami. It is Roman. What do you think of the color green?
I think that you are the master, man. I think that Roman green is a color that I think is a master of it, but I think that is one of the best artists out there. the best storytellers.
Mm.
And again, it's all surrounding us, all focusing on the story. And talking about green, is when I was a child, my favorite color was blue. And now, and the other day, I questioned myself, what's my favorite color? And I think that I don't have. I think that depending on the project I'm working, I choose a color of anyone or another. But I think that green is a really good color to use it to decrease the powerful of a bright light, not using blue. Green is a subtle tone, more difficult to understand, but can also bring shadow without lowering the value of the color. For example, in a skin, if you go and Lena, the woman that's with the hunting with the spear.
Leave it with me. 1 sec. Bish, 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 bish. Yeah, is this? No, that's a sword.
No,
Bish,
no.
The woman with the reindeer, the reindeer. I don't
Yeah.
know if you have it, the yellow one.
It is there because I've seen it go through.
Yeah.
But
bish, bish, bish. Ah,
Yeah,
this one.
I
This
didn't
one.
notice that was it.
I use green in the legs to understand
Yeah.
that you don't only have to give shadows with, I don't know, with black or with brown, just changing the base tone, the yellowish base tone of hair. You can create a distance effect by adding green to the light.
It's next level, isn't it?
I mean, once
Yeah.
again, it. Sorry, Peter.
No, I was going to say, just thinking about colours in a different way, isn't it? It's kind of just a different way of looking at it with new eyes.
But once again, the way
Yeah.
it's rendered, that looks like a 2D canvas to me. You have to really look at it to realise it's a 3D model.
Yeah, thanks, mate. It's because of the background
Yeah.
and of the silhouettes. If you look at the background, it's not. It's on purpose. All the shades, because the knee, that's the left knee that has this surrounding of light in the leg, is on purpose a black background on the back, because if there's a white one, you wouldn't be able to see the 2D effect.
Yeah.
Look at the other leg. The other leg is surrounding with shadows, with not secondary light. So if you surround it with shadows, you have to get there a type of clear background to pop out the volumes of the figure. It's again a trick that illustrators has done through years.
That's amazing.
One day, guys, we'll be there.
In the London course.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, that's probably an opportune moment, because obviously Jamie's alluded to the fact that we're probably going to do a second cast as well, which is going to be a bit more relaxed. And I know some community members have asked some questions that we can probably explore better there in a more relaxed atmosphere. But before we close this one out, so that we can keep it in the hour mark, we understand, and you've alluded to there, that you're going to be doing a course in London organised via the Journeymen. Organisers. Are you able to, Journeyman, sorry. Are you able to talk a bit more about that course, what the course content's going to be like, what you're hoping to explore, and what people are likely to learn if they attend?
Yeah, I think that is not totally closed, because it's we are like playing with the dates. I think it's like 13 and 14 of June in North London, I think, or London. And I'm focusing in how to judge a piece, how to judge your own pieces, and how to judge art. I will divide our piece in three. That's story, light, and color. And I will stop in each of these things. For example, here I have a list of what for example, in the story, there's ambience and first boom effect, storyline, greeting time layer, emotions, terrain and composition, personality, originality, figures chosen, transformation, plinth, in light position and correct shapes, anatomy, ambience, rebonding of light, cast shadow, light sources, intelligent use of value and contrast, different materials and textures, eye guide through the figure, in color ambience, intelligent use of colors, +1 if you use white, yellow, and black, harmony, good combinations, correct use of luminosity, temperature effect, creativity, and eye focus. And the last thing is feelings I can't explain, is subjectivity. And this list we will go one by one, testing in your figure, and that's the course.
And it's 2 days, or is it like
ambitious.
7? Yeah,
it's a 2-day course.
Yeah. Well, I'm there anyway, but only because it's you. No.
Right, bring the whiskey, man.
Yeah, exactly. I'll just won't go. That actually, it sounds like a unique course, which is really good. There's a lot of subjects there that I really want to know more about, and I don't think many people have covered. Maybe it's because the list, but there's a lot of stuff in there. I know probably Alfonso's ambience course covered a little bit of that stuff, but still,
there's a lot of content. If I mean, obviously, we're encouraging as many people to sign up to that course as possible, come along and support Aythami, and obviously, hopefully, if the support's there, he'll be able to put on more courses. But if people can't, for geographic reasons, can't get to that course, how else do they learn from you? Do you have a Patreon? Do you have a
I have like a Patreon type of website that's called notoriginalminis.com.
Okay.
And there you have a lot of all the figures that Jamie had played there. You can see the tutorial, the video tutorial, and I talk deeply about these things and much more.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a good. I have been a member. It's worth the signing up, in my opinion. I might be biased, but I've enjoyed it. I like the format.
If they want to find that, are there links via your Instagram and your Facebook to that? In all parts. In my Instagram, in my account, they have the link of the not original minis. And this guy, this Space Marine, you have the tutorial there also. Oh wow, okay. It's really popular.
And if anybody cares about Elder, there's some Elder stuff in there. I don't know.
Yeah, tell that Jamie. Jamie has a brand.
No big deal. Yeah, well, yeah, the brand is notstealingip.com. I do actually have a brand, but I'm struggling to paint that model, so I can't sell it yet. If you like dragons, I'll put a link in somewhere.
Yeah. And I painted to him like an elder, a really big yellow blue elder, and you have there also the tutorial.
Oh, wow. It's really good. Well, it's where I've learned how to. I know you struggled with it as well, so I'm glad you learned for me. But the whole idea of ink on top of the white to really, really make it pop.
Yeah, that's a really good trick. When you paint yellow or red or any color, just paint a layer before of white, and you will get a lot of luminosity.
Outrageous amounts of luminosity, actually.
Yeah.
And the only other thing, which I think Jamie signed up to as well, you open some personal slots for tuition as well, a more one-to-one basis.
Yeah.
Do you know when you're opening some more slots up for that, and how people can sign up to that if they're interested?
Yeah, I don't know, man, because that gets me a lot of time. I am now with the not original minis, preparing courses with individual classes. Writing a book, and I don't painting, and I don't have time. So when I have a bit of free and spare time, I will open, but I don't know if it's near or in the summer. I don't know, man.
Okay,
I would just up the price, Aythami. Obviously, you can't officially say that, but
it's not these, obviously.
I was the lucky ones.
You just dropped there that you're writing a book. Are you able to discuss that a bit more?
Yeah, I've been like 1 year writing a book that I think that I have more or less the subject, and the mainly subject is this: the thing that I'm preparing the courses about how to judge a miniature, and
Okay.
all the aspects, all the divisions of the books will be like that. The things, the ambience, the color, etc., and the way you can translate this to the miniature world. And I have a few ideas that I think that it will be cool. So to paint, for example, the example I told you in the beginning is that you have to paint the faces in the paper to understand it. I want the people to be able to do that and to understand lights in an easy and in an enjoyable way.
Okay. Do you have a publisher lined up for that, or do you know?
No,
when it's
mate.
released?
I'm really because I'm not focused with that. I'm in the summer. Maybe I get like two months of vacations. But instead of vacations, I will finish the book, and I will try to find that help, or that that brand of books that can help me.
So it's a bit of a
Or go
watch
to
this space
Kindle.com.
kind of thing.
It's Upscale 75. They seem to be publishing a lot of books at the moment.
Yeah. Maybe I contact him. Yeah, it's a good idea.
Yeah, tell him about my dragons. Right. Well, we've run over naturally. We always do, but it's been an absolute pleasure. It really has.
Thanks.
Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, and I guess we will hang up, as in I will click the stop record button, and then I'll hit record again, and we'll just try and do those quick questions and keep it short. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
It's been a pleasure, mate.
Thanks for coming on,
really
Aythami. Thanks a lot.
Thanks
It's
to
been
you.
great.
Cheers, guys.
Thank you.